Hi everybody! Hi everybody, this is Daniel Gray. I am the Trailer Park Prophet, coming at you live from Crestone, Colorado. Did I tell you I'm the Trailer Park Prophet? I can't remember. Alright, just kind of jamming out here for a minute. This is Local Friday. It's kind of like your class. A lot of times I like to say that this show is all about remedial education for those who attended public school. And there's a lot of truth to that. And I find myself in a situation almost daily where people, particularly on the internet, or people I meet, friends I talk to, are completely ignorant of the truth. And if you went to public school, the chances are really good that you are ignorant of the truth. And that's why I like to say that the Trailer Park Prophet is providing a service to those of you out there that attended public school. We're offering remedial education. Try to catch you up to speed on important stuff that was left out of your curriculum by design, which is what I always refer to as lying by omission. The progressive socialists, the PC movement, the liberals, the Democrats, they lie by omission. It's bad enough what they're telling you, particularly in school and on the lamestream progressive socialist media, about hateful propaganda that they dole out there, but then they're not telling you the whole story, lying by omission. Almost it's a double whammy. And a lot of times I'm talking to people and I hear things that I've heard on the media. I know what they are. You know, like one prime example that I could think of recently was how Republicans in the Senate and House of Representatives are obstructionists. And the inference there is that the Republicans are obstructing what the country needs, almost like taking the baby off the tit of the mother. Obstructionist. And the psychology of the progressive socialist movement is to convey that viewpoint of Republicans by doing so. And that's what's going on. The psychology of the propaganda. Because our government is set up to be obstructionist. I know I'm repeating myself, but I have to make sure you get this construct through your mind. By having the upper and lower house, the Senate elected every 6 years, the House every other 2 years, it was set up to create obstruction. That the people every 2 years had an opportunity through the House of Representatives to clean house. Everybody's up for election. That's the people's house. So if they're watching the government and they say, oh my God, that's the wrong direction, like they did in 2010 and took over the House, the Republicans through the Tea Party, that's obstructionist. That means they're there. That's the people saying, no, stop Obamacare. That's how our system's set up. That's the beauty of our system. So when you hear a progressive socialist go off about how, those Republicans are being obstructionist, and Obama's going to be using this a lot in the 2014 election cycle. Every time there's some woe that he can identify out there in society, then he's going to connect it to this notion that Republicans are being obstructionists. So in essence, Republicans are basically responsible for everything. And the low information voters out there can adopt that easily. They'll be able to adopt that and go out into the community and proselytize the people that they come in contact with. It's much easier to teach people of simple mind hate and distrust and fear than it is to proselytize them into the notion of hope and the decency of humanity, and that we should teach our children about virtue before all other things, even science. I mean, that's how our system's set up. That's why we have a constitutional republic. That's why all these bills are supposed to go through all the committees of reference in Congress, and they're not doing that. They're going through by special orders. Same thing with this budget bill. I mean, I haven't checked it out yet, but I'll bet you anything this big budget bill that everyone is talking about is exactly that, a bill done on special orders. And the problem with that is it bastardizes the system. And the system is set up in a way so that the various, I hate to say this word, fractions within the Congress are able to, in legislative terms, take bites at the apple. When a bill goes through the whole legislative process, which is called general orders again, then everyone has an opportunity to weigh in, a bite at the apple. And that's part of what some people would call that that's obstructionist. Yes, that's obstructionist. That's what we want. Who was it that said no man's liberty is safe while the legislature is in session? I think it was Mark Twain. Regardless, the sentiment is exactly true. When people get elected to power, guess what they do? It makes them drunk. And our system understands the failing of the human being. Our founding fathers took the expertise and the experience of 2,000 years of learned individuals when they put together our Constitution. And again, there's nothing new out there in the world of politics. Politics is the distribution of power, and most oftentimes that power is money or favor from the government. And it's as true now as it was back during Greek times and before. Back when they had the actual palace economies. Nothing's changed. That's why political science is not a science. It's really, I can't even explain to you what I think. There is no political science. I can't believe I actually am trying to get a degree in political science. All right, let's see. 108, drifting all over the place here today. I was busily cleaning house. Again, my name's Daniel Gray. I am the Trailer Park Prophet, and I'm broadcasting live from beautiful Crestone, Colorado. This is Local Friday, and we like to talk about local politics, and I've been using Gunnison, Colorado as kind of my laboratory, because Gunnison, Colorado is the right size where you can really see who the movers and shakers are and figure out the power clique and of course all the other overlapping cliques. You know, I look at them as like hula hoops. You know, you got the power clique, that's one hoop. And then you have other cliques outside the power clique, and they overlap like hula hoops if you were just to throw them into a pile. You know, that's a lot of how I observe societies and make my observations and run my tests, do my surveys, all that kind of thing. I'm a student of politics and I guess also human behavior. So I've been using the Gunnison Country Times, what I like to call as the Gunnison Country Dead Tree News, as sort of my laboratory. And here on the front page, Dr. Gloria Beam, she actually operated on my knee. She's bound for Sochi. We've talked about that. That's where the Winter Olympics are going to be held in Russia. God, I really hope she's going to be okay. She's an orthopedic surgeon, and she's going to be in Russia. And she is a big deal. She really is. She has been working with the Olympics for most of her career, and she's definitely a renowned surgeon. Nice lady. Kind of ditzy. I guess you got to be ditzy if you're a surgeon, right? I've been wanting to talk about this for a while. What kind of person makes a good surgeon? And I think we probably all have an idea in mind instantly. But my idea would be that to be a surgeon, you would have to be somehow insufficient in some other area. Your glass would have to be half full in another component part of your personality. I think I'm going to leave it like that. There's going to be the grand opening of the field house at Western State Colorado University. I've been talking about how universities all over the state of Colorado, and I'm sure this is the same thing in your area. All these little state colleges have been borrowing money and building brand new dorms and student centers, and here in Western they're building one of these field houses. All of this is kind of like a country club for millennials, and they need these big, huge capital construction projects to lure the students to the university. And so this one's about ready to open up in Gunnison, Colorado. It has an indoor track, a 43-foot climbing wall, a trampoline, and a foam pit. That's cool. Locker rooms with showers. Like, that was kind of funny. Why did they put that in there? I mean, of course they have locker rooms and showers. These are just a few of the amenities that will be offered in the Western State Colorado University's new Recreation Center and Field House. And I told you this was going to happen. This is on the front page of the Gunnison Dead Tree News. Headline, REA1, that's the school district here, to test the waters on a tax question. I told you they were going to have to raise taxes. And then they're going to blame it on Amendment 66. I told you. And here's an article written by Chris Rourke. With the failure of the proposed statewide tax increase for schools in 2013, local voters may be asked this year to reach into their pockets. And it was more than just a school tax increase, Chris Rourke. It was a complete takeover of half of the state's budget and giving it over to a bunch of unelected, appointed officials, Chris. You know, I mean, I guess I should, the real surprise here is that I'm surprised. It wasn't about the tax increase. It was about the structural takeover of half of the state budget. That's why people voted against Amendment 66. Gunnison's watershed school district leaders are beginning to test the waters for a possible mill levy override proposal in the coming November's election. The school board voted unanimously Monday to allow Superintendent Doug Treadway to form a steering committee that will explore the possibility of the override for the 2014 ballot. Overwhelmingly. And that's because the Gunnison School Board, like I bet every other school board across our country and also in your community, that the members of the school board is made up of retired teachers and administrators, because that's how it is in Gunnison, and I bet that's the way it is in most school boards, that the majority of the members are retired education employees, which I think is a conflict of interest. And Treadway says, what I don't want to do is start meeting with the committee without a nod from the board. Consideration of the property tax increases in response to the failure of Amendment 66 in last fall's election. Voters denied the measure that promised to fix the state school funding formula and add nearly $1 billion to school funding for the last several years. The school district has suffered a $2.1 million annual shortfall from the state. Increased enrollment has helped to lessen the amount the district has had to take from the reserves to cover the shortfall. Well, the reason they had less money from the state is because they had less students. They just admitted that in this paragraph. Freaking dummies. But Treadway says that the reduced funding has led the district to cut programs such as, drum roll here, as summer school, eliminate some positions and increase class size. Well, wham. Why don't you cut teachers' salaries or teachers' retirement benefits? How about that? The last mill levy override was in 2004 when the district voters approved an additional $1.3 million for school funding. The total mill levy for the district for 2012 was approximately 25 mills. That rate increased to 27 in 2013 due to the decline in the total evaluation of property district-wide. And then it goes on to blame, in light of Amendment 66 defeat in the consideration of mill levy override, Board Treasurer Bill Powell opined that it is up to the local school district to lessen the reliance on the state. He says, I believe our school system has and needs to continue to challenge the status quo by thinking differently, Powell said. We're the kind of board members that believe schools need to challenge the status quo, and we need to reach out to the community, inform them, and ask for their support of the kind of schools they want for today and tomorrow. I mean, this is just such hyperbolic propaganda. I mean, this makes Gunnison look like a bunch of hillbillies. The school board is the status quo. The status quo are the statists, the people that are in support of government. You understand statists, man. Statists are people that believe government is the answer to everything. And the statists are the retired school employees on the school board. And yet here he is, trying to set up what I would call a straw man. You know, we're here to think differently. We want to be thinking differently. They're setting up this straw man. Here's that straw man over here. You know, he thinks that bad way about being a fiscal monetary conservative, but, you know, we want to think differently than that. We want to borrow we want even more money. And remember, I told you, and I'm not sure they mentioned in this article here recently, Gunnison approved a $65 million bond issue that allowed for some renovation of some schools in Gunnison. And by the time they end up paying for that bond, they're going to be paying for that $65 million 2.5 times over. An insidious amount. In fact, they're paying just to service that $65 million bond. They're paying $5.5 million a year just to service that bond. And that's what I've been saying to you all along. This is what's going to happen. They're going to be strapped because $5.5 million of their $65 million budget in little old Gunnison is going to service a debt that they could have easily just collected the money, saved it, and made those improvements instead of borrowing the money, and then saddling future generations to pay for it over the next 30 years. And this same kind of thing I know is going on in your community. I mean, this is rampant. If you don't align yourself with the provincial PC progressive socialist thinking, then you're maligned. You're ostracized. And that's why in a community like the size of Gunnison, or any community like under 60,000 people, you can see for yourself the effects of all the various political and power cliques. Let's see, Gunnison got a new dispatch center. They really kind of needed that. I mean, I'm not anti-government. I'm really not. A lot of people would like to say, well, you know, you're just anti-government. But that's not true. I'm not anti-government. I think that there's a way to do things, and borrowing money isn't one of them. I mean, it is one of them, but oh, here's something kind of interesting in the Gunnison Country Times. The energy company in the area, they're the ones that have the natural gas, Atmos, whatever that means, ATMOS, Energy Corporation, warns customers to beware of a widespread email scam which portrays a bogus bill from the company. The fraudulent billing message, it's reported, references a fake account number and contains links to spam. If you're a Atmos customer who receives an email and the account number display in your email does not match your blah 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 blah, so you got to be concerned about someone who regularly bills your account making some kind of or making a random, you know, play for your bank account. I mean, these kind of scams, I'm surprised there's not more of these. I've been hit by one of these scams that said something about, no, I'm not even going to tell you. It was just too doggone weird. So anyways, Gunnison got a much needed new communication center. I mean, I wouldn't want to work in the basement of some old grungy business. And then, hey, listen, if you guys are contractors, just to let you know, Gunnison, Colorado is building a new courthouse. And they want you local guys, if you're from Colorado, they'd love to give that business to somebody locally. So you might want to think about the courthouse project in Gunnison. This is kind of interesting. Hurley accepts second-degree charge felony theft. The Gunnison man accused of killing his uncle has pleaded guilty to murder in the second degree and felony theft of less than $20,000. The guilty plea means Zachary Hurley will forego a trial and will be sentenced in March. Hurley could face up to 30 years for his crimes. The mediation session in December between the accused and the district attorney proved unfruitful, and Hurley appeared in court on January 10. This guy's kind of interesting because he strangled his uncle to death and then later made the claim that he had been routinely molested by his uncle. I actually know this Hurley's ex-girlfriend. She's a bartender in Gunnison. Nice lady, though. I've known her for years. Alright, let's see. What else is in the Gunnison Dead Tree News? This is kind of an interesting story. A Mount Crested Butte man braves elements, survives night in backcountry after being separated from friends. That would be a long night in the Rocky Mountains in January. Okay, Alright, I think that's it for Local Friday. Listen, if you'd like to call in the show, you can do that. Just dial 646-716-8506. Again, if you'd like to talk to the Prophet, you can do so. Dial 646-716-8506. Alright, let's see here. I want to do this. This would be kind of fun. This is Alfonso Mourning, one of my heroes in life. Somebody that I have a lot of admiration for. But he's talking about the recent boycott by the progressive politically correct movement against this company called Interstate Batteries. And the reason the progressive socialists are going after Interstate Batteries is because their owner, I think his name's Wilson, is actually a Christian. And they make note of that in the Interstate Battery commercials. And my brother here, Zoe, says Interstate Batteries doesn't hide their religion or their conservatism. They embrace it and often sell well because of it. It's time to get Zoe's brand featured in their commercials. Be sure to check out Zoe's audiobook to get insight on promoting conservatism in the culture and letting the liberals tip over their own nasty narrative. Now, this video that I'm going to play for you, I really think is brilliant in a lot of ways. I mean, this guy, Alfonso Mourning, he is a really intelligent guy. And he's talking about what the individual can do in order to save this country, what an individual can do to promote conservatism. And he analyzes it in a way that is nothing short of brilliant. And he's absolutely right. And I think it's kind of what I've been telling you for a long time, that in order for us to save our liberty, we've got to become more involved in our own communities. All politics is local. This is the loco Friday program here at the Trailer Park Prophet. So what he's saying is so true. I mean, this guy in my mind is really smart. I mean, I did a Facebook post today and I said he's brilliant, and I really kind of think he is brilliant. So anyway, I want you to give Alfonso Mourning a listen, and if you'd like to listen to more of Alfonso, you can find him on my Facebook page, or you can go Google Zonation, and you can see a lot of this man's work. I mean, he to me, he's a thinker. All right, here we go. Alfonso Mourning.
Many of y'all have seen a commercial by Interstate Batteries called God's Love. It's been around for a few years. The first time I saw it was just this past Christmas. I saw the commercial, and I was so stoked to see a business that instead of relying on the self-righteous act of so many companies to promote their love of the earth and the environment to appeal to the shallow feel-goodism of so many people, Interstate Battery charged up their gusto and went against the grain of the culture that's more and more being conditioned to find God offensive, and said, hey, we love God. Get a charge out of that. I think we'll have The commercial was put out there by Norm Miller. As well as being the chairman of Interstate Batteries, he's also the founder of I Am Second, a Christian outreach organization. Recently, it came to my attention that liberals are trying to go after Interstate Batteries because they sponsor Rush Limbaugh's show with a few affiliates. But these lefties are trying to make it look like they're Rush's ultimate sponsor, and they deserve to be boycotted. I hope nothing big comes to this, and I hope they'll relent for reflecting on how this backfires on them, like in the case of Chick-fil-A and with Phil Robertson. I'm looking at liberals admonishing Interstate Batteries and threatening to change batteries because they're so disappointed that they sponsored the king of hate radio, Rush Limbaugh. I've seen more hate in their threads than I've ever heard in the 20-plus years I've known Rush to be on the air. And what makes Rush Limbaugh so hateful? Because he disagrees with the positions of some people? Again, I have to ask, how liberals can accuse us conservatives of being narrow-minded absolutists, when if you just disagree with them, it means you hate them? It can't be anything else. Now that's an example of being a narrow-minded absolutist. Republicans didn't establish a terrorist organization because people disagreed with them. Democrats.
All right, I'm going to break Alfonso there for a moment. I was hoping maybe, I don't know if it was breaking on your end or not. I'm going to have to check the recording, but here, let's try and continue on, see if maybe I can... Where was he?
Many of y'all have seen a commercial by Interstate.
Alright, I blew it.
It can't be anything else. Now that's an example of being a narrow-minded absolutist. Republicans didn't establish a terrorist organization because people disagreed with them. Democrats did, though, and they call us conservative Republicans extremists and absolutists. But anyway, I caught wind of the commercial God's Love by Interstate Batteries, and I was like, rock on. Then I thought, hey, my band has a song called Divine Battery that celebrates the power of God's love. How sad would it be if we didn't make a connection? I often receive feedback saying, Zoe, you should have your own show on Fox News. Now, as much as I appreciate that, I'm like, why? More political talk isn't really the answer, in my humble opinion. If I had to answer to Fox's schedule, I'd never have time to do anything else. My whole life will be politics, and that would suck. It practically takes all my brain cells to keep up with what I do here. And I like it here, because I do have that flexibility. Or, Zoe, when are you going to run for public office? Again, we have to promote conservatism in the culture if you expect the culture to be ready to receive a conservative's representation. Y'all, there's already a lot of political talk, but talking only goes so far if you don't have the means to relate to people. This is one of the reasons why I have a band. I keep telling y'all, one of the reasons why liberalism spreads so effectively is because they make good use of music to spread their message in a wide range of genres, while conservatives limit themselves to pretty much country. Country music is fine, but like I said, it's limiting. Conservatives keep asking, how do we reach the youth? How do we reach the women? How do we reach the black voters? How do we reach the Hispanic voters? While not doing what it actually takes to reach them. Over and over again, they throw more money at another politician who they think is going to have the appeal that liberals have. And we end up with someone like John McCain. Conservatives, if you would demand more of the supply of conservatism being promoted in the culture, instead of putting your faith and stock into a politician to change things, you'd see more positive results. That's why I dig Interstate Batteries, who got right down to the core of it and stepped out there and said, we need God's love. So if you're watching this vid, show Interstate Batteries some love. Visit their Facebook page and show some support. And let them know that you'd like to see them team up with 20 Pound Sledge and do a promotion with their song, Divine Battery, because it fits. Now, some haters will say, oh, Zoe, you're just trying to benefit off their commercial. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I'm guilty of that. My objective is to promote the gospel, not my personal glory. If I wanted to promote my own personal glory, I could just write secular music with my band and be celebrated by singing about debauchery or cynical themes on America. There's a big market for that. It's much harder to make it as a conservative artist because conservatives tend to not demand a lot of it. So if I'm in it for the money and the fame, I'm definitely in the wrong market. I'm into promoting the gospel and conservatism, and it helps to have resources to do that. I do okay from here on PJTV, but a lot of people may not get where I'm coming from here. So I use music to relate to that other demographic, which shines a light on the messages I do from here, and potentially draws them in via something they can relate to. Mount Balls ratio is donation, and I know this message is going to pass by a lot of y'all, like the collection plate passes you by in church. But if you want to see conservatism promoted in the culture, here's an example of how to do it. To help me get these messages out there, you can do something small like what I just mentioned. I'm not asking too much, am I? Get a charge out of that.
You know, there's times in this experience that we call life that are just perfect. And I never cease to be amazed and grateful to be in the company of greatness. And the internet allows us the opportunity to be in the company of more great people. It's a beautiful thing. Yes, it is. All right, where are we? Let's see. I wonder if there's anything trending. You know, doesn't everything just seem kind of calm right now? Sort of the calm before the storm. I mean, I really have a sick feeling that something... DRU Drudge Report. that another shoe's about to drop, or actually several shoes are about to drop. You know that feeling? You know what I'm talking about? Everything seems so calm right now around the world. Nothing really big happened during Christmas. I mean, you know, besides the usual 30, 40 churches being burned across the world. I mean, I don't know why. I have this horrible feeling that we're about ready to have just a major, major disaster. And after all, I am the trailer park prophet. Okay, let's see. Calm down. Agents are our neighbors and friends. Oh my God. White House, Obama didn't know extent of surveillance. Panel program hasn't prevented any terrorist attacks. We are now a police state. Spies want Edward Snowden dead. Really? Why would they want Edward Snowden? Oh, and then Julian Assange is saying that he's the guy that operates WikiLeaks. He says, we have heard a lot of lies. I wonder if he's talking about Edward Snowden. I mean, the two rogue spies commenting on one another. Oh my God, the internet. Let's see here. I don't know. That doesn't sound too interesting to me. I have better stories than this. Small quake rattles LA area on 20th anniversary of Northridge. Oh, this is kind of an interesting story. Did you hear this? There was a couple fires out in California. And the media jumped on it as another sign that there's global warming, climate change. And then the police announced that they arrested 3 guys for starting a fire in the forest. I guess these 3 guys, one of which was homeless, were out there, and in fact they were so cold they tried to start a fire. I guess they were successful in starting a fire that eventually led to this fire, and the lamestream media uses the example as another sign of global climate change. Oh, Michelle Obama is 50. Today's her birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. And it shows her with her Obama card or something. What is this? That's always cool when the first lady has a birthday, and she's 50. You know, I mean, still a really young woman. This story's from National Review Online. It says ABC swoons 50 ways to celebrate Michelle Obama's birthday. An article written today by Andrew Johnson in preparation for the First Lady's 50th birthday. I guess it's on Saturday. ABC News has served up a fawning list of 50 ways to celebrate the occasion. It highlights Michelle's most memorable and glamorous moments. Below 10 examples from the list, which you can read in full. Number 1 on this list. Oh my God, this makes me want to barf. Dance to Beyonce. Move into a massive new house with your family and invite your mother to move in too. Man, that's deep. Make the cover of Vogue. I mean, she's on Vogue like 3 times a year. Buy a Jason Wu dress. She has closets of them. Hang out with your friend Oprah. Roll your eyes at House Speaker John Boehner or the Danish Prime Minister. Oh my God. I mean, this is absolutely, positively vicious. Roll your eyes at House Speaker John Boehner. I mean, this is institutionalizing childlike behavior. That's what this is. Hug, kiss, and fist bumped the President of the United States. I mean, that makes me want to puke. Travel the world on Air Force One. Dine at Spiga in Chicago. Spiagga. Oh my God. Hang out in Hawaii for an extra week as a early birthday gift. Meanwhile, the First Lady has also found one way to celebrate. And it shows our First Lady with her AARP card. Which is really kind of ironic too, because AARP is part of the problem. I mean, they're part of the statist. AARP was part of the closed-door sessions that put together Obamacare. I mean, AARP is making bank off of Obamacare. And what's funny, you got to see this picture. It's kind of weird. It has a picture of, like I said, of Michelle Obama, and she's holding up her AARP card. And her hand is kind of a funny pink color. And all wrinkled and... I don't know. I report, you decide. Uh-oh. Okay, let's see. I'm going to go to the stories that I want to talk about today. Oh, here's a nice one. There's a beautiful picture, and this is on my Facebook page if you'd like to go look at it, of a young Martin Luther King Jr. And let's see, and this is for today's Throwback Thursday. Here is a young Martin Luther King Jr. He was born Michael King Jr., but changed his name to Martin Luther King Jr. when he was a teen. I actually knew that. But you can see a picture of him if you want. Let's see here. What a surprise. The Obama administration is caught with yet another lie about Obamacare. This is coming from Alan West, who is a black conservative from Florida. Retired career military. Steadfast and loyal. Alan West writes here that some people have attacked me, meaning Alan West, because I have not, and will not take up a Don Quixote-like crusade over the birth certificate of the President Obama. Instead, I choose to focus my energies on highlighting the faults, failures, and shortcomings of his president, so many of which to choose, as well as the presenting viable solutions for the future of our republic. Today I share with you reports from Fox News, Real Clear Politics, and the Washington Post about more massively, I can't say this word, egregious lies emanating from the Obama administration regarding the Obamacare enrollments. The administration is touting that millions of Americans have signed up through Obamacare for Medicaid coverage. However, a closer analysis seems to show that instead of some 4 million who have gained Medicaid coverage, the real number is lower than 400,000. How can that be? The Obama administration has been counting individuals re-enrolling in Medicaid, double counting. And there's other news out there too that the Obama administration is cooking the Obamacare numbers. And it says here from Sean Trendy from Real Clear Politics, quote, "This is odd because after looking carefully at the numbers cited, the Medicaid figures are the weakest of the bunch. It's a virtual certainty that the number of enrollments attributable to Obamacare is an order of magnitude less than 4 million signups implied, and the number of people on Medicaid who would actually lose their insurance if Obamacare were repealed is probably around 200,000 to 300,000. And that is also substantiated by Glenn Klesser Kessler of the Washington Post fact checker, who awarded President Obama 3 of the top 6 Pinocchios for 2013, says there is much less to the Medicaid figure than meets the eye. The exchange figure has been updated recently to 2.2 million, but not the Medicaid figure. Indeed, there has been vast confusion about what this figure means, especially in the news media. And I know from talking to people around the valley in Delta, Colorado, that people are really confused as to how Obamacare affects them, and they're not aware of any of these deadlines or any of the various nuances of Obamacare. Like we've reported several times here, people don't even know the difference or that there isn't a difference between Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act. I mean, they don't know that the Affordable Care Act and Obamacare are one of the same. You're listening to Daniel Gray. I am the Trailer Park Prophet, broadcasting live from beautiful downtown Crestone, Colorado. This is Loco Friday at the Trailer Park Prophet Show. Thanks a lot for being here. I really appreciate it. So anyway, this is not the only numbers for Obamacare. I've been reading other articles too. That the sign-up number that Washington's been claiming is really a lot lower, and there's other problems like the original people that wrote the original Obamacare code. Remember, we reported all the problems there and the connections to Michelle Obama, and then they brought in a new super private team, and the latest revelation is that all of those people now are gone, and that there's a new group of people trying to patch together the Obamacare website. And I don't think it's gotten a lot of media. You know, I've been looking around. That doesn't mean it's not out there, but and what I hear from computer experts is that if the program has so many problems that, or there's a point when a poorly developed program has so many problems that you no longer can fix it. You need to start over. Something about how, you know, you could look at it that all that code is a foundation, or there's foundational code, and if that foundational code isn't solid, then the rest of the code and the development of that code is built on shaky ground, and it's going to have problems. Let's see here. An ending here. Let's see here. We were talking about this article that's written here by Alan West. He has an ending here. I didn't read this whole article to you, although I would recommend you go to Alan West's website and read this guy. He's smart, and he writes so well, and I love all the stuff he talks about, and the way he talks about stuff. He's really well written. But in ending, Alan West says, what we are witnessing makes Orwell 1984 look like child's play, and a message to progressive socialists: don't act with the sense of impunity, believing there will never be another Republican president. And what he's talking about here is how the left has been reacting to the misfortunes of Governor Chris Christie. And in fact, it wasn't mentioned in this article, but I thought it was really interesting. The recent polling on Chris Christie and Hillary Clinton is that now Clinton has a 14-point advantage. And before this whole deal with New Jersey and Bridgegate with Chris Christie, Hillary Clinton and Chris Christie were even, dead even. And now, because of all the media, all of the influx of the media, the constant 24/7 pounding on Christie in this Bridgegate story, Well, now the numbers with Christie and Hillary has a 14-point advantage. And the media, like Alan West is saying here, is almost giddy about it. They're incredulous. They really are. I mean, they're out there basically patting themselves on the back on camera in front of the world that they've been out there they've been able to discredit a Republican, Chris Christie, to the point where it shows up in his polling. I mean, and like Alan West says, it is like Orwell's 1984. The statists are in control of the media, the statist media. And they have one objective, and that is to create more government control of the means of production, like we used to learn in economics one time. All right, let's see here. You know, I've done stories like this before. Maybe I shouldn't do this. Which, by the way, I got to tell you, I don't know if this means anything, but I told you that you can now see my broadcast on my YouTube channel, and every one of my Trailer Park Profit shows are reviewed. And there's several of my shows that aren't allowed to go to some foreign countries. And I'm really curious now what that might be, keeping me from certain countries, and I'm curious to know what countries those are. And of course, you know, I wonder if maybe it could be my stories on Islam. You know, could it be that those particular broadcasts or shows are struck because maybe I mentioned terrorist or Muslim or Muhammad? I mean, what could it be? I'm really careful not to use profanity, and though we do some, you know, stories like we did on Wednesday about the cyclist who had a chubby for a month. I mean, I don't talk about sex. You know, that's not what we do here at the Trailer Park Profit Show. So I'm curious, you know, what I did that could have offended other countries, you know, and who knows. But this story comes from the San Jose Mercury News. Headline here: no-fly list challenged. Stanford student wrongfully labeled a terrorist, judge says. The federal government violated a former Stanford University doctoral student's legal rights 9 years ago when he put her on the secretive no-fly list targeting suspected terrorists, a San Francisco judge ruled Tuesday. In the decision, for the most part sealed, U.S. District Judge William Alsup disclosed that Rihanna Ibrahim was mistakenly placed on a controversial list and said that the government must now clean up the mistake. The decision comes in a case that has for the first time revealed how the U.S. Department of Homeland Security assembles the no-fly list used to tighten security in the aftermath of 9/11 2001 terrorist attacks. And so the Obama administration has used this recent court case to now come out with a legislative mandate. It was in their news cycle yesterday that FAA and the NSA and the guys that provide the airport security are no longer allowed to, well, let's see, what's the term here? The Obama administration has vigorously contested the case, the first of its kind to reach trial, warning that it might reveal top secret information about the anti-terrorism program. As a result, Alsup sealed his ruling until April to give the government an opportunity to persuade a federal appeals court to keep the order from being released publicly, which is contrary because the Obama administration was saying yesterday that you can't God, I keep forgetting the word. Profile. That's it, profile. The Obama administration says you can't profile people that look Islamic or look Muslim. Profile. You know what I mean? But this is really interesting though, because you know the question is, how did this woman end up on the no-fly list, rather than whether or not no-fly lists are unconstitutional. And see, that's where this all is headed. You know, makes me think that all of these releases of these court cases are somehow coordinated. You know what I'm saying? I mean, all of these things happening like this, these court cases coming out, and it looks like the administration already knows beforehand what the verdict's going to be, which maybe is no revelation or anything, but, you know, I have a sense we have another manufactured issue coming down the pike. You know, this whole idea of how it is that the Muslims are treated in this country. And now the Muslims are going to be able to obtain minority status rights, and then they're able then to claim every misgiving or every misfortune in their life is the result of being profiled. I mean, the stage is being set right before our eyes. That's what I'm seeing here. And after all, I'm the Trailer Park Prophet, so I can just see these things. And this court case is the hallmark, you know? I mean, this came out. When did this come out? When did this come out? Because the president was talking about Muslim profiling yesterday. Okay, this came out on the 15th. Still, you know, I mean, never let a crisis go to waste. I mean, the president, maybe they just saw this, I mean, really, this is going to be repealed. Not repealed, but, I mean, somebody, you know, someone's going to have to want this to go to appellate court. All right, anyways, that's enough of that story. I just find that story really interesting. And here's what I wrote, and I've mentioned this to you before, and I said, we need two airlines in this country. One for the Muslims and their supporters, and another airline for those who love our liberty. Trailer Park Prophet. Maybe that's why some of my YouTube shows are not allowed in certain countries. I don't know. But I mean, really, if you can't have security profile people, and that's what the Israelis do, you profile people, and you know that not all Muslims are terrorists, but all terrorists are Muslim. And the same with suicide bombers. Not all Muslims are suicide bombers, but most suicide bombers are Muslim. That's axiomatic. You can't argue that. That's not prejudiced. That's a fact. And here's my friend Cortland Weil, or Willie, in reference to my comment about two airlines. He says, hell, more nonsense from the trailer park. Let's make an airline that caters to people with poor grammar skills, or better yet, airlines that only cater to me, my friends that are wide open, leaving the pussies to Greyhound. And this is one of my progressive socialist black friends. Again, happy birthday to America's First Lady, Michelle Obama. And you're listening to Daniel Gray. I am the Trailer Park Prophet, broadcasting live from Crestone, Colorado on Blog Talk Radio. This is Local Friday. I'm looking at a beautiful picture of Michelle and Barack Obama. He's seated in a chair, and Michelle has her arms wrapped around him. And they both look magnificent, and they're smiling. They look kind of skinny. Barack obviously looks pink. Oh, I can blow this picture up. One thing that freaks me out about our First Lady is she's a eyebrow plucker. I can't handle eyebrow pluckers. I don't know what makes people feel like they have to pluck out their eyebrows, but it's really hard for me to have much respect for eyebrow pluckers. But anyways, there they are. Barack looks stoned as a rat. Michelle looks beautiful. Her arms don't look as big as they used to. I mean not as shapely, not big, shapely. And this is released by the NAACP, the National Association of the Advancement of Colored People, started by white people. And it says here, happy 50th birthday to America's First Lady, Michelle Obama. This King holiday weekend, the President and the First Lady are asking all Americans to lend their service to the community. Find an event near you, and then here's the link at www.serve government. Can you believe that? www.serve government. United we serve. United we serve. I mean, this is really kind of a revelation. And united we serve. Holy mackerel. And they're if you want to look them up, their address is www.servegovernment. That just totally blows my mind. That's a revelation. They're telling these people that they have to serve the government, that they need to serve the government. You would never see anything like this 20 years ago. And of course, here's an advertisement for the AmeriCorps started by Clinton. And what are you doing for others? Promoting Martin Luther King. And of course, they're making Martin Luther King sell progressive socialism from his grave. Toolkit to organize a book drive. God, this is amazing. The President is calling on all Americans to participate in our nation's recovery and renewal by serving in our communities. There are many ways to get involved. America's new foundation will be built one community at a time, and it starts with you. What a challenge, you know. I mean, you got to think, okay, who's your audience? You know, it's someone sitting at home at a computer. You. Let's see here. They got a national service blog. Find a volunteer opportunity. Find your toolkits, you know, how to become a community organizer. Member of First Vista class reflects on lifetime of service. You know, here you give the aggrandizement of past soldiers of the progressive socialist movement. Partnerships that changed lives. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And they're on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube talking about additional opportunities. You have AmeriCorps, Citizen Corps, Peace Corps, Senior Corps, Volunteers for Prosperity, Federal Civil Service, Foreign Service, Military, State and Local Government, U.S. Public Health Service, Veterans Affairs, and Volunteer Government. Very sophisticated. And then they have about, initiatives, resources, news blogs. And, you know, again, we've been talking about this. And, of course, it's in and Spanish. Got to be in Spanish. All right, let's see if something's trending. All right, I don't see anything. I'm back on Drudge. All right, I got better stuff than that. I don't know why I have this feeling that some big disaster is going to strike. All right, here we go. Should I do this story? Do I want to do? I want to do it. Yeah. This is Herman Cain from Herman Cain TV. Love Herman Cain. He's a black man, conservative, ran for the Republican nomination for president in the 2012 election cycle. I supported him. I even made my own bumper sticker. I love the guy. At any rate, he was on the Neil Kabuta show, and he was talking about, what was he talking about? Oh, he's talking about government waste. And it is true. You know, we've reported here at the Trailer Park Prophet a bunch of times about how much waste, fraud, and abuse is in the federal budget. And, you know, remember, the federal budget is roughly, well, it's less than $4 trillion a year. And there's something like almost a quarter of it goes to waste, fraud, and abuse. And the political actors in Washington, D.C. don't do anything about it. And you got to say the only reason that they don't do anything about it is because they're the beneficiary of waste, fraud, and abuse. So here's Herman Cain on Neil Kabuta. I think this was last night. And let's give this a listen. All right, Herman Cain, welcome to the Trailer Park Prophet Show, sir. We're glad you're here. Okay, come on, buddy. Take it away. Oh, boy, we got an ad here. Oh, I love this ad. This is the Tony Pizza where the guy is twirling the dough. It's rather inspiring, you know? All right, Mr. Herman Cain.
And Herman Cain says it's really no way to run a business, let alone a country. Herman, that's what concerns me, that there is a sort of a blind indifference to accountability, and that's the big worry going forward.
Neil, it's even worse than that, and it's even worse than you pointed out. Let me make 2 points. First, we don't willingly give them this money to continue to waste. They take it using the force of law. Obamacare is the latest catastrophe where they do that. And secondly, it's so bad in Washington, Neil, even when the Government Accountability Office documents the waste, nothing is ever done about it.
But, you know, Republicans are good at this, too. I mean, it's one thing when you're war against the Iraq War, but writing a check and keeping it off budget and no questions about what's being spent in Iraq. I think people are smart enough to know that wars are costly. Itemize it for me. Tell me what you're doing. We don't do that. We don't do that enough. I know I'm like an accounting numbers nerd here, but I know you're a bit of a nerd, but you're a cooler nerd. You like to make sure, as a former business guy, more money comes in than goes out. And that's generally a good rule of thumb, and both parties have forgotten it.
If a business did what the federal government is doing, we would be in jail.
Yeah.
The reason that they continue to do this is because not enough people are paying attention. The polls have shown 50% of the people are clueless. And so when it's election time, they fall for the slick commercial or they fall for the latest goodie, the latest free stuff, and they send some of the same people back. More of the American people are going to have to wake up, or this problem is going to continue, just like the poverty war on poverty lasted 50 years, $20 trillion, and there are more poor people today than there were then.
But Herman, the bottom line, we're not doing that. Here's what this latest budget accord, you know, you could commend them for avoiding a government shutdown or whatever you want to say, but the way we arrived at that was to do something that really doesn't address our long-term spending issues, and we just breathe a sigh of relief because for now the deficit situation seems to be improving, not forgetting the fact that it's going to get worse, and that's unavoidable. So we just take a pass, and we keep taking the people's money.
That's exactly what they keep taking the people's money. It's the political class versus the working class, and that's us. And the political class are acting like they're the ruling class, using the force of law in order to continue to take advantage of the American people. And it's not going to stop until more of the American people. Neil, here's one thing that's not even included in that omnibus budget. That is the abuse and the lies that are going to hit with Obamacare. That's not even included.
We'll watch that one closely, and that is coming up. That is always my friend.
And the costs are going to be even worse.
Thank you very much, Herman King. I know.
Yeah, he's right there, boy. This Obamacare is going to be a sight to behold. 2014 is going to provide the world with a ringside seat to the total implosion of Obamacare. And I like what Herman Cain talked about there at the end. He was talking about the political class, the ruling class, and again, it dovetails with my observation of people in Washington and people who are attached to the progressive socialist ideology. They're statist. They want more government. That's what the current ruling class in D.C. want. And the people that have contracts with the government, big business loves big government because they can alleviate the competition through all the rules and regulations. I know I mentioned that before, and I'm sorry to be redundant, but it's important that you understand that dichotomy, that big business loves big government, and that these people are statists. They want more big government, and that they are the political class, and they're acting like they're really the ruling class. And the reason is that, in a way, they are. Only because they're in Washington, D.C., and they're connected to power, and they're able to contribute money to campaigns and get people elected. Oh, here's some poll numbers that just came in from Gallup. Again, I got this notification from Alan West, who, by the way, has a new book out, and it's called The Guardian of the Republic by Alan West. And I should get it and read it and report on it back to you. He has a piece here today, though. Alan West does. And let's see. We got some new numbers. Alan West writes, see, we continue to hear the economy is improving, but the question is, from whose perspective? Unemployment is still a rampant issue. Case in point, President Obama wants another emergency extension of unemployment benefits, but then why would that be necessary if the rate is dropping to 6.7%? A recent report from Fox News of a Gallup poll gives a differing viewpoint from outside the beltway of Washington, D.C., and the propaganda of the liberal progressive media. More than 40% of Americans say they are financially worse off now than they were a year ago, reversing a 2-year trend in which Americans believe their situation have improved. A new Gallup poll finds, despite a sustained, if sluggish, economy recovery that has lasted nearly 5 years, most Americans report being no better off financially than they were a year ago. As previous years show, Americans are typically more positive about their future compared with their assessments of the past, a testament to the enduring sense of optimism many Americans share about their financial future. So that, that's not good. And then Alan West goes on to say, he says, this is the Obama economy, and it is failing the American people. It is time for the politics and demagoguery of castigating Republicans as evil ends, President Obama talks about working hard but being successful, but then he attacks people who work hard and build businesses by telling them, you didn't build that. The continuing doublespeak will get some nowhere except deeper in the fiscal morass in which we find ourselves. Anyways, I won't bore you with the rest, but I found those Gallup numbers kind of interesting. And people just don't think their economic situation is getting better. And that's not good. And you know, coming up, we're going to have the right direction, wrong direction. That's going to be in the media before long. I don't know how often they do that, but I have a feeling that a lot of people sense that the economy in the country is headed in the wrong direction. Oh, okay, here is Robert Reich. And I wanted to go through this because, you know, this is an interesting time we live in with the mass media and of course the stuff we have on the social media. I've been tracking Robert Reich's articles, and Robert Reich is the go-to guy for economics for not only Team Obama but for all of the progressive socialists. And now I'm friends with Robert Reich, and his postings on Facebook are really a manifesto of the progressive socialist movement. And he talks about how he's traveling around to Colorado. He's in Colorado recently, and then a couple days ago he had lunch with the Senate Democrats or the House Democrats, and his message is always the same, talking about income inequality and social justice. But what he's doing is he's going out there and saying, okay, here's the rule book for the 2014 election cycle. These are the issues that we want to hit on over and over and over again. And I think probably they understand that their ground game has to be clear and concise, because in order for them to be victorious in the 2014 cycle, I think they realize that their margin of success is going to be less. And so it's even important more this election cycle in 2014 to make sure their base shows up to vote. And that's what I'm seeing when I'm reading these Robert Reich postings on Facebook. And he starts off this one he posted 4 hours ago. It says, Department of Misleading Statistics. So, I mean, he's already being kind of catty in the beginning, you know, because he's trying to come off, he's an economist, he's a college professor. I mean, he wants to be taken seriously, this guy Robert Reich. But he even must be feeling the pressure, because he starts off by being catty. I'm trying to think of the word I want to use. But he says, again, the Department of Misleading Statistics, ha 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 ha. Senator Marco Rubio, he's a Republican obviously, from Florida, says he has a policy to, quote, decrease the probability of child poverty by 82%. It's called marriage. George W. Bush's former spokesman, Ari Fisher, can't even think of his name right now, repeats the claim in the Wall Street Journal that marriage is the best anti-poverty policy by arguing that among families headed by two married parents in 2012, just 7.5% lived in poverty. By contrast, when families are headed by a single mother, the poverty level is 33.9%. And, you know, those numbers are, those are the numbers. I mean, these are the numbers that have been out there for a long time. And a lot of people are working these same angles, and they're coming up with the same numbers. I mean, these are hard numbers. That people, I mean, the children do better in in married households. I mean, it's been proven over and over and over again. Okay. So, Robert Reich says in response to these facts, the argument that marriage reduces poverty is pure bunk. Yes, there's a correlation between being unmarried and being in poverty, but the directional causation is the other way around. Blink, blink, crickets. The truth is, poverty reduces marriage. What? The truth is, poverty reduces marriage. Huh. All right. If you're poor, you're less likely to marry because most of your prospective partners are also poor and often unemployed. And there's no point in getting tied down. Or you had been married, but you or your spouse lost a job and had a major health crisis, or were pushed into financial hardship in some other way, and that hardship has ended your marriage. Now that is a perfect example of gobbledygook, and a way to blame everything on everyone's misfortune to the wind. You know, this is a gobbledygook example of relativism. You know, and basically what you're saying is that, and it's actually sort of a dog whistle, because he's saying, in essence, that regular norms of economics and morality and respect of yourself and your children, that is nothing but a mirage. That's really what he's saying here. That there is no virtue, there is no right and wrong. There's always an excuse. There's always a way to minimize the actual responsibility. All right, Robert Reich goes on to say, or you're poor because you've escaped from a violent or abusive relationship and don't have any current source of income. I mean, now he's just getting into dribble. And now here he goes. I mean, here he comes. I can't believe he's like this bare naked, Robert Reich. I mean, he's on a national forum here. And he just calls out conservatives. The right-wing claim is dubitably misleading because marriage rates have been declining across the board, not just among poor, and even as a percentage of families run by married couples has dropped, the percent in poverty remained fairly constant until 2009, when the Great Recession saw a substantial increase in poverty. Know your facts so you can rebuke distorted right-wing claims such as marriage reduces poverty. I mean, they weren't claiming that marriage reduces poverty. The claim was that I mean, that's not really their claim. They're just claiming that if a child comes from a married household, that the chances of them being in poverty reduce. See, I mean, it's amazing how he's able to completely turn around the original premise. No, the conservatives aren't claiming that marriage reduces poverty. I don't think that's what they're claiming at all. I mean, they're not claiming anything at all. I mean, this is scientific stuff. I mean, you can't argue these kind of numbers. That's the other thing too. I mean, what Robert Reich is doing now is totally ignoring the facts, the scientific surveys, and he just turns it into a personal attack on conservatives. I mean, it's unbelievable, really. But you know, of course, it is believable. But, you know, the takeaway is, you know, all the little minions out there, the low information voters, they're going to take away from an article like this. And a lot of these people that are going to read Robert Reich and are on Robert Reich's email address or Facebook account, these people are true believers. And when they read this stuff, this is like reading the sacrament. You know, this is the words of a great mind, Robert Reich. I mean, he is the #1 economist for the progressive socialist movement. And so what you have to do, and I should have gone through this article in a different way, in just terms of proportioning out the actual segments, and you'll see in the upcoming 2014 election how these tools or these observations that Robert Reich puts forward will actually pop up in different venues and different types of political propaganda. I mean, this is reading the textbook of the progressive socialist movement. But I like the way that they use so much psychology. I mean, that probably is the bigger takeaway, is the psychology that's involved here. I mean, not only is he's using just the raw attacks like the, you know, right wing and the Department of Misleading Statistics. I mean, really, I mean, how many people out there don't think a child has a better chance coming from a married household? I mean, and why is that such a horrible thing to say? Got another story from Alan West. We're not going to do that. What time is it? Okay, we're just about at, we got 4 minutes to 2:30. I got a really funny bumper sticker here. And this one really cracked me up. It says, "Of course you don't see any Obama bumper stickers. I'm driving to work." and my friend Carl Sandin says, "On a gas-guzzling planet destroying Range Rover, oh the hate." And I don't think this is a Range Rover. Oh, it is a Range Rover. How funny. It's all I can see in the picture is RAN, but yeah, that's Range Rover. "Of course you don't see any Obama stickers. I'm driving to work." I didn't even notice that it was on a Range Rover. That's funny. And then I wrote something today. I said naivety, or being naive. Now I can't even say the word. Naivety is the biggest danger to our liberty. Now I can't say that word. That's a tough word. You know, and here's something here, another Alan West story, just a little bit. But, you know, I want to talk about this because more of our money now is being spent in the promotion of Obamacare that could have been used to actually fund a pool of non-insured people because of pre-existing conditions. I mean, here's another $52 million that the Obama administration is spending on Obamacare advertising by former NBA players Magic Johnson and Alfonso Mourning to make an appeal to young people to sign up. In total, the American taxpayer has forked over $684 million for Obamacare advertisements. Methinks, this is Alan West, who's me thinking, we could have used those dollars to keep TRICARE service centers open for military veterans and retirees. Then again, I come from a military family, care about our vets, and I am one myself. But you know that, look at the money that we're spending on setting up Obamacare. And I'm going to repeat myself because we have so many new listeners, and that is that Obamacare creates 139 new government agencies, and all those agencies are going to have hundreds and thousands of employees, and we're going to pay for their retirement and all their medical, and we're going to have offices and cars for them to drive around in and expense accounts, and all of that money doesn't do one thing to help somebody's health care. It doesn't put one doctor in one clinic. And that's why Obamacare is nothing more than a way to socialize our economy. And again, it's the statists, the political class, the ruling class that want more control of our economy. Okay, and here's this story here. Now, this came from Shubat, and we've used his stuff before. He's one of the people who was involved with the Muslim Brotherhood, and now he's on our side, people that love liberty, and he has an article out today discussing what we were discussing earlier. So this is a breaking story. And again, this is written by Theodore Shobat. Today, the Justice Department, which is led by Attorney General Eric Holder, who was nominated by Obama, was ruled that federal agents are now prohibited from inquiring a person's religion in the process of carrying out an investigation. That means that when Muslims are investigated, their religion, Islam, cannot be put into perspective during an investigation. So, like, what does this mean? I can't get my mind around it. Well, an ACLU lawyer, Heina Shassoon, said, quote, putting an end to this practice not only comports with the Constitution, it would put real teeth in the FBI's claims that it wants better relationships with religious minorities. Now, what in the hell does better relations have to do with the construct of our Constitution and our laws? I mean, that's ridiculous. We have an FBI because we want our laws enforced, not because we want to have better relations with any certain religion. What? And since the U.S. government doesn't mind suing Christians for refusing to accommodate the homosexual movement, such as Christian bakers who refuse to make the cake for a sodomite wedding, it is apparent that this ruling is to please the Muslims. While the administration is acquiescing to Islam, Muslims are slaughtering Christians by the tens of thousands as we speak in Syria, Iraq, Pakistan, Nigeria, the Sudan, Yemen, and many other lands. And really, you can't profile Muslims. And this guy, man, Waleed Shobat, I wouldn't be surprised if someday he winds up assassinated. I wish I hadn't said that. All right, you're listening to the Trailer Park Prophet. My name is Daniel Gray. We're broadcasting live from beautiful downtown Crestone, Colorado on Blog Talk Radio. This is Loco Friday. I'm ready for the weekend. Zippity-doo. Oh, here's a cute little story. I should do this. This little boy, I don't know, he's 9-year-old Joshua. 9-year-old Joshua. He recently had to go in for surgery and was so nervous that he brought along his stuffed wolf. The wolf had a tear in its leg, and Joshua asked his doctor, could he do a surgery to the wolf too? His parents said no. But when he walked into the recovery room to see their son, they discovered the little wolf laying next to him, this time with a surgical mask, a little cast, and a surgical quality sutures in his leg. We think the entire surgical staff deserves some serious respect and love for an act of kindness. Alright, let's see, moving on. I can't do that story. Alright, did you see this? You know, I don't know really what's going on here, but the president came out today and announced that he was going to enact some reforms to the NSA, and my friend Vanessa Anderson, a conservative black from California, wrote, "Oh, so the NSA can continue spying on folks, but the data will be stored with a private company and the NSA will need a subpoena to gain access. Is that what I heard?" And Vanessa laughs out loud. She says, "I'm not stupid, Obama, so which of your friends or progressive-friendly associates will win the bid for that contract?" Good question. Always follow the money. And here's another picture I have that's kind of weird. It's on my Facebook page. Here's this old guy. And, I mean, he's a awesome looking old guy. He's white, looks like he's taking really good care of himself. He's got a gray mustache. He has a nice red coat with the matching hat. Looks like he's, you know, he could be almost anywhere, although I think he's, you know, he's at probably a community fair, street fair, something like that. And he's wearing a big old sandwich board, and it reads, 81 years and 9 months. 81 years and 9 months of being gay. But maybe it's just a phase I'm going through. Sponsored by Budget Signs. And he's standing in front of a folding table and has a plastic jar trying to raise money. And my friend put this up, and I of course had to respond. And basically what I said was, why do we need to know this? I mean, he doesn't look gay to me. I mean, if he says he's gay, I would definitely take his word for it. But I imagine most people in this guy's life didn't know he was gay, and if they did know that he was gay, I imagine they didn't even care. Why would anybody care? I mean, he looks like a perfectly nice guy. I mean, if he was standing there with his arms around his boyfriend, I would be just as nice to him in that situation as I would in any other, you know. And I bring this up because I want to make the point that this whole gay thing is such a manufactured issue. They make up 5% of the population. Gay people do. And they produce 85% of the bitching and whining. And it's from the militant gays, not from your next door neighbor gay. And I wrote of this old guy, this 81-year-old, I said, another overshare by a old hippie Skippy. What you do with your mucous membranes is your own business. Please keep it that way. Nobody cares except you and your militant, progressive, socialist, sycophant friends and some dim-witted know-nothings. I mean, people don't care in this country. They may not approve, but they don't care. And most people wouldn't allow it to determine their decision about someone that was gay. I mean, most people, if they had to decide between a gay person and another person, wouldn't even consider the gay as an issue. They would go for qualifications, what the person would take in salary. And one consideration they would have for any employee, gay or not, is whether or not they're going to be sexual harassers. That's the 800-pound question. You know, are you going to cause trouble in my workplace environment? And yes, gays can do that. And yes, obviously, Straight people can do that. That's all an employer cares about. Let's see. Okay, here's McCain weighing in on the NSA reforms. I spoke about this earlier. The president gave a speech that he was gonna make some NSA spying reforms, and probably what this recognizes is that the president understands that all of this spying scandal out there with Eric Snowden, that this is really getting a lot of the millennials and the Generation X and Y people, the young people, upset, and it's hurting them in the poll numbers. And this is an example today of the president wanting to get ahead of that. And it says here, President Barack Obama will announce on Friday a major overhaul of a controversial National Security Agency program that collects vast amounts of basic telephone call data on foreigners and Americans, a senior Obama administration official said. In a 11 a.m. speech at the Justice Department, Obama will say he is ordering a transition that will significantly change the handling of what is known as the telephone metadata program from the way the NSA currently handles it. In a nod to privacy advocates, Obama will say he has decided that the government should not hold the bulk telephone metadata, a decision that could frustrate some intelligence agents. In addition, he will order that effectively, immediately, we will take steps to modify the program so that a judicial finding is required before we query the database, said the senior official who revealed details of the speech on condition of anonymity. While a presidential advisory panel had recommended that the bulk of the data be controlled by a third party, such as the telephone companies, Obama will not offer specific proposal for those who would store the data in the future. In other words, after the major overhaul, Obama will keep the data mining going. He'll just make sure that the data is kept somewhere other than the NSA headquarters. Is that really an improvement? And, well, actually, yes, and that is because the other layer would be that then the NSA would have to ask for a court order in order to get that information. So, you know, it is another layer. The whole judicial finding thing is essentially meaningless since we already have a set of secret and incredibly compliant FISA court judges that are doing pretty much whatever the NSA asked them. Why would we assume that a new judicial findings would set any higher standard than the ones already we have? If these decisions are being made behind closed doors, it's not really a change at all, and that's a good point. And there again kind of adds to the notion that this whole speech today is nothing more than political theater. And it says Obama has asked the Attorney General Eric Holder and the intelligence community to report back to him before the program comes up for reauthorization on March 28th. Now you guys do all this stuff I told you I want you to do and get her done. And report back to me. I don't know, sounds like it might be a horse and pony show for the millennials. Alright, we gotta do this story. This is so funny. By the way, I would be remiss not to remind you that I do have a business called the Trailer Park Profit Love Connection, and if you or anyone else you know might want to be in a position to be in contact with women from other countries in a safe and secure setting, all you got to do is go online to Trailer Park Profit Love Connection, and you can meet over 20,000 women from all over the world. All of them have been screened. All of them have they have bios, and you can see what they look like and find out if they're married, what religion do they have, what their interests are, where they live, of course, and it's an excellent opportunity to meet new women. And you can go to the Trailer Park Prophet Love Connection, and you can see tens of thousands of women, and it's all legit. It's the best dating service on the planet. In fact, CBS has said that, and the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times, all of the major media recognize the Trailer Park Prophet Love Connection as the best dating service on planet Earth. Okay? Check it out. Alright, what was I going to do? Oh, I better do my last ID. This is Daniel Gray. I am the Trailer Park Prophet, and I'm coming at you live from beautiful downtown Crestone, Colorado. This is Local Friday. We got 15 minutes late, and I'm going to tell you this. I don't know. Should I do this story? I'm not going to do this story. It's too funny. Alright, maybe I will. I'm going to do this story. Now, reportedly, this is a true account. This story is true. It was recorded in the police log of the Sarasota, Florida. An elderly Florida lady did her shopping, and upon returning to her car, found 4 males in the act of leaving with her vehicle. She dropped her shopping bags and drew her handgun, proceeding to scream at the top of her lungs, "I have a gun. I know how to use it. Get out of the car." The 4 men didn't wait for a second. They got out and ran like mad. The lady, somewhat shaken, then proceeded to load her shopping bags into the back of the car, got into the driver's seat. She was so shaken that she could not get her key into the ignition. She tried and tried, and then she realized why. It was for the same reason she had wondered why there was a football, a frisbee, and 2 12-packs of beer in the front seat. A few minutes later, she found her own car parked 4 or 5 spaces farther down. She loaded her bags into the car and drove to the police station to report her mistake. The sergeant to whom she told the story couldn't stop laughing. He pointed to the other end of the counter where 4 pale men were reporting a carjacking by a mad elderly woman described as white, less than 5 feet tall, glasses, curly white hair, and carrying a large handgun. No charges were filed. Moral to the story: if you're going to have a senior moment, make it memorable. I don't know where that came from. Oh, taboojive.com. I have no idea if that's true. You can check it out. Let's see. I'm not going to do that story. Better not do that story. Oh, hey, here's a story. This one just popped up. This is from Colorado. Obviously, the show's based out of Crestone, Colorado. And here we have a story from Creeping Sharia. And an El Paso County jury on Wednesday heard clashing portrayals of Jasmine Mohammed Hassan Ramahandan, a 21-year-old Iraqi immigrant accused of shoving his hand into the rectum of a semi-conscious woman, causing severe internal bleeding, charged with multiple counts of sexual assault Random, also known as Jay Hendricks, could face up to the rest of his life in prison if convicted. His trial, which is expected to last 2 weeks, comes after an 11-month delay, during which the case was held up as the Colorado Supreme Court considered a evidentiary dispute between the prosecutors and defense attorneys. Charged in the 2012 assault at a West Colorado Springs apartment complex where Ramadan and 4 other Iraqi immigrants, all of whom were brought to the United States with the help of military members after assisting troops in Iraq. And there's also a co-defendant, a guy, Samarad Ferdahi. Levi Mohammed, 26, is serving 16 years to life in prison after a jury convicted him last year of placing his penis in a woman's mouth. 3 others were accused of lying to police about what they knew of the rape and ended up with misdemeanor convictions. During opening testament Wednesday, prosecutors Michael Allen identified Ramadan as a man who brutalized the woman, inflicting an injury so severe the doctors say she could have died without medical attention. And there's so much here I can't even repeat without getting sick. I mean, this article really goes into the detail that the court went in, but again, it had more to do with a Muslim and their just total disdain for women. And I think we did a story on Wednesday about how in certain courts, Muslim defendants can use the defense that they didn't know that raping women was a law, or to not rape women was a law. I mean, they're able to use what's called a cultural defense. Let's see, what is this? Stop global whining. Oh, this is kind of a rant from my friend Natasha, who actually was in the military. And she wrote here, if I hear the phrase income inequality one more goddamn time, look, you abysmal, idiotic whiner, different work and different effort merit different pay. How is it so bloody hard to understand? No, a burger flipper does not deserve the same salary as an engineer. A woman studies professional whiner carrying $150K of debt worth a worthless degree with nothing of value to offer anyone does not deserve the same salary as a infantryman. Give it a rest already. Better yet, get a real job. And for the love of whatever that word is, I am not concerned about global warming, but global whining needs to stop yesterday. But, you know, and here again, I did this story because this is what we're going to hear a lot of. Income inequality, income inequality. And it's the same battle cry used in political campaigns for the last 2,000 years. Same one, income inequality, creating class warfare. That's exactly what they're doing now and what they did 2,000 years ago. Oh, you know, I did this story 2 years ago, and now it has come back around again, and this came from Dave Hodges, The Common Sense Show, and I'll basically tell you, here's George Carlin. Here's a little funny for us. You know how I define the economic and social classes in this country? George Carlin here. The upper class keeps all the money, pays none of the taxes. The middle class pays all the taxes, does all the work. The poor are there just to scare the crap out of the middle class. Keep them showing up at those jobs. kind of an interesting perspective. I don't always like George Carlin, but that's kind of cool. All right, let's see here. No, that's not the story I want to do. Oh, wait, is this it? All right, here we are, right here. Who actually wrote Obamacare? Do you know? I mean, I've reported here that it was done behind closed doors, which is essentially the case, except that when I'm not exactly misspeaking, what would happen, or what does happen, and what did happen with Obamacare, the basic principles that sat at the table would bring proposals to that table in the Capitol. And they were Big Pharma, they were United Healthcare, they were the unions, and let's see who else was there. AARP was there. But at any rate, the basic framework was written by this guy, Robert Creamer. And now for the shocking truth about who actually wrote Obamacare. After all the secrecy surrounding Obamacare's lifting, we finally put a name to this cruel lie. The man's name who wrote a great deal of the scourge of what we call Obamacare is convicted felon Robert Creamer. Creamer is now credited with writing 628 pages of Obamacare while he was in prison. Creamer is a senior Democratic operative who defrauded banks in order to keep his Marxist/communist community organization afloat by engaging in 16 counts of bank and tax fraud. Creamer's book is entitled Stand Up Straight, How Progressives Can Win. Many left-wingers say that Creamer's book has inspired them in their progressive fight and turn America into a socialist Europe. Creamer's work has received support and garnered an endorsement from a surprising source, or maybe it is not so surprising after all. Former White House senior advisor David Axelrod describes Creamer's book as a blueprint for future progressive victories. Creamer's stated that in order to propose socialist health care on an unwilling nation, it is necessary to deceive the people. Creamer is the husband of Marxist government Congressmember Jan Sarkowski, an Illinois Democrat who demands a single-payer health care delivery system. Creamer's book calls for the democratization of wealth and the progressive control of governments around the world. Creamer says that Democrats could win a permanent majority in Congress by passing a national health care bill, turning more people into wards of the government that works to grow government, and by giving amnesty to illegals, thereby creating virtually overnight a large new constituency of Democratic voters. With 50% of the country on some form of welfare, Creamer's plan has progressed at a very rapid pace. Creamer's counseled our Democrats that to win complete control of America, they must, quote, not just generate understanding, but emotion, fear, revulsion, anger, anguish, he adds. If the Democrats continue to stand firmly with immigrant rights, the issue will define the immigrants' voting loyalties for a generation. If we're successful, we'll have a gigantic block of progressive voters over the next 15 years, a block that would be decisive in the battle for the future. So, I mean, there you have it, my fellow lovers of liberty, the bare naked truth of the intention of Obamacare, and why the progressive socialists want to see immigration reform. They want to lock in 50 million voters for the Democratic Party. No surprise here in Crestone, Colorado. All right, everybody, I got to get out of here. Have any kind of weekend you want.